Hello everyone and welcome back to SGTV. Today we are joined by Boyd from CertOn, and as always we're always trying to offer things that are of interest and of use to electricians out there. So Boyd, before we get into the nitty-gritty of what CertOn actually is, could you tell me a bit about yourself and how you got into the industry?
Certainly. Hello, Ben. My dad used to run an electrical contracting firm. I think that was one of the first NIC, EIC contractors on board, probably 1970s. I think they stretched back to the company. And I said when I was about 16 years old, Dad, can I have a job? And I went straight into college, 1989, in Water Lane, Watford, and went through my 236, I think it was at the time. Done about 2 or 3 years at college, passed my exams and never looked back. I've been in the industry about 32 years, I think now. My granddad was an electrician as well, my dad's dad. So it sort of runs in the family. I'm not saying that my 2 boys I want them to run into it. They might not want to do that.
Just some gentle persuading here and there.
Yeah. Well, I've had them wiring up some bits and bobs, but I didn't get them to put it live. So yeah. But yeah, quite enjoy being a sparky. I've done it all my life, and been around the world doing sparking as well. Went to Australia, New Zealand, worked in both of them countries.
Was it very different, did you find, compared to here?
I'll tell you, there's a couple of good things that the Aussies and the Kiwis do that we should do. Is plastic cable drums on everything, and it's all recyclable. So there's none of these cardboard boxes that fall apart in domestic. Get wet on a building site or something like that, it just falls apart. Everything's plastic and everything's picked up and dropped off by the wholesaler, and they'll just reinstate the cable on it. That's very good. And everything's radial circuits. They don't use ring final circuits on anything really. So
yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because we are planning on doing episodes soon about the different sort of wiring in other countries such as the US, Europe and Australia, anywhere really. So that is something to look forward to, and hopefully people out there will tune in for that one, or even if they've got things they want to talk about before then, they want questions they'd like us to ask, get in contact. The more questions and more content we've got for those kind of episodes, the better. So good that you brought that up just now there, Boyd.
I mean, the only thing I would say in Australia, you don't stick your hands under people's floorboards, because they've got a lot of creepy crawlies out there that can kill you.
Yeah.
But no, both countries, lovely way of working, really nice set of people I've worked with out there, on some big developments, done some big hospitals, worked in some big high-rise buildings, and some domestic as well. Full range of everything. I even worked in a boat underneath Darling Harbour, putting up some lights near a big museum down there in Sydney, which was fantastic. Really good working around the world. Obviously, back in the UK now, and I'm still contracting now. Still got electrical contracting firm. Quite enjoying working as a sparky still.
Well, I noticed you've got some great branding behind you, which you've got all surrounding you, mentioning the company brand CertOn. So this is why we've got you here today. So can you tell us what CertOn is?
Yeah, basically we're a paperless document management system for any final certificate that's finished as a PDF document. So it can be electrical installation certificate, it could be a Part P, it could be a drawing of a building. It's absolutely any finished document at the property itself. So we invented a new way of putting a QR code stuck on a fuse board or on a boiler on an alarm panel, and you link that via the app. So it's always at the property. You can never lose a document ever again. The amount of times that I used to go into people's properties and see that they had electrical works done, and I would ask the question, where is your certificate, or do you know if you've got a circuit details chart? Because that's one big thing that a lot of sparkies I tend to find miss when they're installing. They don't put the circuit details chart. I just thought to myself, one day there's got to be a simpler way of finding the documents at the properties. And I thought, well, look, QR codes and an app, you can link it like people use to open a website, or QR codes are everywhere, aren't they, at the moment? They're very, very big news. And we just thought using technology to find documents, it just seems, the simple solution. So, yeah, I took it to a friend of mine who's now my business partner. We created the company CertOn. And, we've been pretty prevalent in the electrical industry. Obviously, me being a Sparky, I launched it with the electrical trade in mind, because of, again, issuing documents and finding missing or not finding documents of properties. The two sort of sat together.
Does that create extra work for a Sparky then? If they've gone onto site and they're missing certain certificates or drawings, does that create potentially a lot more work for them?
Well, I mean, it all depends, really. I mean, one of the items on electrical installation condition report is there any previous documentation available? Well, if you had the previous documentation available, it could be something that you can reference to find out that the circuits have changed or been altered or potentially got worse over time. So yes, it would definitely 100% help you if you had all of the documents that was issued at the original installation date. Having other things for the homeowner or the property owner, because the product's not just for homes, it is for commercial as well. It's also finding any manuals for the appliances, or the manuals for the smoke alarm. How does your fire alarm hush or switch off? When do I need to replace it? How do I replace the battery? How many people throw away documents like manuals or sling them in a drawer and can never find them when they need them? So we thought there's got to be a way of just adding a document as a space on our system, and it's always there.
So who would be in charge of looking after it? So would it be the electrician or the homeowner or landlord?
Yeah, so we sort of designed a system that the electrician or the gas engineer or the builder or the landlord would, if you like, be the first person to stick the QR code in the property somewhere. And then they would hand over the documents to the account holder, which would be the property owner. So in other words, the person living in the house or the tenant, everybody would have the access at the property. If, for instance, an electrician wanted to view another property on CertOn that they didn't have the access to, in other words, the gas engineer had fitted his CP12 gas safety certificate to the property, he could ask the account holder just simply in the act by scanning the QR code, and then that would give the electrician access as well, just purely by the account holder giving them a day, a week, a month, or a year's access.
It would save the electrician having to speak to the plumber as well, because we know they don't get along very well.
Exactly. Well, the whole idea with the product was that how many times do we go to properties and try to find documents and the people are not there? For instance, we've got a school that we demoed the product before it got launched, local to us. And just recently, during the COVID period, there was some engineers turned up to do an inspection on the maintenance on the air conditioning units. And the head of the school wasn't there. And there was nobody in the offices to let them in to see where the asbestos was in the building, where they needed to drill or potentially move equipment. And what the headmistress said was simply create a free CertOn account, scan that QR code, I will give you access to our documents, and they see everything without anybody even being in the building.
Yeah, and I bet a lot of people have been stuck in that situation before, turning up to a building or a property, the person you're supposed to talk to is not there, or for whatever reason, and you could potentially be losing work or putting yourself at risk from drilling into asbestos or things like that.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It was predominantly my idea for electrical works, and we broadened the whole project just really to become documents for anybody at properties. It is the gas engineers, the fire alarm engineers, the builders, the property owners, because of the amount of documents that are relevant in buildings, and everybody needs to know where they are, and if you can find them instantly with technology, contactless, instant, it's definitely the way to go.
Would emergency services have any use or access to this kind of thing?
Well, this is interesting you say that, because we've got a fire safety consultant who's explained to us about the importance of premises information boxes, PIMs, BIB box, premises information box. And they are a voluntary scheme that building owners are meant to put inside these boxes the hard copies, the paper copies of where the fire hydrants are, the gas safety shut-off valves, AOVs, any information that's relevant to that building as an old-fashioned bit of paper hard copy. Now, the fire officer, who's actually a serving fire officer as well, he said quite often we're turning up at these premises information boxes, we're opening the boxes and there's nothing inside them because the building owner hasn't filled it up with information, or somebody's managed to get in and take it out. And again, it's going back to the old way of paper copies. It is you can never find them if they're not there. The thing is, with our product, they've said if the fire industry did decide to take this on, it's simply open the app, scan the QR code, and they're already there on your phone. So yeah, it is a big potential avenue for us for the fire industry, without a doubt.
So if you're using this online and on your phones and smartphones, tablets, that sort of thing, I know security is always a big issue now, as it's becoming more easy to hack phones and viruses and all that kind of thing. So how safe is CertOn?
Well, we have it's the Amazon AWS service that we use, so the Amazon Web Services cloud. So it's probably the most, one of the biggest cloud-based systems around.
That's pretty up there, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, it's obviously got its internet protocols for security in that respect. But it's just having a CertOn account doesn't mean that you can access any document that somebody else has got a CertOn account. You have to ask for access request in the app. So, for instance, if I was coming around to your house to say, Ben, can I see your electrical certificates? Well, you would be in the house and you would say, certainly, Boyd, I'll give you the bits of paper, and you're actually giving me the same access request as you would be with the app. It's just you don't have to be there. So it's a matter of the account holder giving access to installers, i.e. electricians, gas engineers, fire alarm engineers, and you give them a certain amount of time. So it's a day, a week, a month, a year, or forever.
So what are the regs regarding paperwork then? Because you've mentioned how some of the things are voluntary, like the boxes. And I know when the word voluntary turns up, people might think, well, if I've not got to do that, I'm not going to do that. But what are the actual regs regarding paperwork for all this kind of thing?
Well, electrical, from my background, obviously you issue electrical installation certificate, minor works, etc., on completion, or at least on making the installation live. So as soon as it's energised, that's when you're meant to issue the certification under BS 7671, Chapter 64, I think. The thing is with the CertOn product, it's available so that you have to still follow the regs. In other words, you give them a hard copy or a PDF and an email. That is the wiring regs. With QR codes and this particular product that we've developed, there is a new way of issuing the document. So, for instance, you don't have to email them. You don't have to hard copy it. You can just simply say, I've created you an account on CertOn, and it's always at your QR code. I know we have actually spoke to the IET from my governing body with the NRC EIC, and we've proposed a new way of adding in and issuing certificates with our QR system. So who knows, you might see us in one of the amendments of the wiring regs in the future. And
that's only a good thing, really, isn't it? It's modernising the industry, it's making things easier, more accessible and safer at the end of the day.
The whole idea around this was to create a safety product, something that would make installations safer and also raise awareness, because again, me installing electrics in people's properties for years, the amount of people who don't know that they're meant to have certificates or documents after somebody's been working in the house. I'm finding it every day, and it has sort of, driven me mad some days, that I think that we can go on about Part P and, what people are meant to know now, and they still don't know. And you can probably say you can spend as much money as you want and they still wouldn't know or understand.
Yeah.
This is another reason why we thought, you know, if there was a different way, if there was a modern way of issuing documents and knowing that they were there, people might start to go, oh, do you know what, why haven't we thought of that before, you know?
Yeah, I've been in the same situation where I didn't know when people have come in and done gas work at my house and I've not had any certificate. Same with electrics before. Before I sort of knew a bit more about the industries and what you should be getting. Yeah, no certificates, no paperwork. It's not until someone comes in who's got a bit of knowledge and says you should have been issued, you know, something for, even if it's quite a small job for that type of work, you should have a certificate.
Yeah, I mean, gas, obviously, it is once a year. If you own a property that's got a gas boiler, gas appliances, if you don't get your gas safety certificate from your plumber or your gas engineer, I should say, they like to be called plumbers. If you don't get your certificate and something happens to your property, your insurance will be invalid. Even down to a chimney. So if you've got a log burning fire or an open fire, you don't get your chimney swept once a year and you don't have a certificate. If something happens and it's down to the fire of the chimney place, your insurance is invalid. So we realised that with the whole product with CertOn, electrically was my first, if you like, goal of getting electricians a better way of seeing documents and finding documents of properties. And it's just expanded for lots of documents are required for every industry. It's not just, you know, the homeowner is going to benefit from this. It can be the window fitter, the fencer certificates, you know, certainly fire alarms. I know there's a lot of fire alarm certificates required on properties. Obviously, commercial, it's every 6 months, etc. So, yeah.
Absolutely. It's quite obvious from your background of where people can find you. But if anyone can't see the websites or the app symbols, where can our audience find CertOn?
Yeah, well, obviously we're an online business. It was always launched to be, if you like, a direct-to-consumer, a DTC product. So that is our first launch into the big wide world. We've got a brand new product coming out, which is still going to be under the CertOn brand, but we've got a professional housing association product. So this would be managed completely by the housing association, but with a lot more features involved. So, for instance, this will be QR codes on individual assets, communal areas, things like fire doors, you know, one individual smoke detector, etc. That will all be possible under the new professional or CertOn Pro, as it's going to be called. So we're creating. It's finished. We're just doing our final beta testing on the app and the website now, just making it look a little bit smart. We're creating a big presentation for it, and obviously we're going to do a bit of a product launch on that very soon.
And that'll be on Android and Apple.
Yeah, Android and Apple, and obviously managed on the Amazon AWS system. It's going to be a licensed product instead of a direct-to-consumer sort of sell online. Our direct-to-consumer sell online product is also changing very soon. So that's a little sort of, you've got a little snippet there, Ben, of our new CertOn Hub, as it's going to be called. We're going to also be putting this out very soon into wholesalers as a packaged QR code, branded envelope in the wholesaler ready to sell to the customer. So, for instance, the electrician can buy it in the wholesaler at a recommended retail or a cut down price and sell it to his or her customer as a recommended retail price, and then they'll get a bit of a cut back on it as well. It's a bit of an incentive for the electrician or the gas engineer or the fire alarm engineer to sell it, and also to give their customers a new way of seeing that the documents are always there. Because, I mean, how many times, again, you can probably ask the electricians on this, and you might get some comments come back. How many times do they say, oh, can you send me another certificate? I've lost it. And I've been on quite a few of these Facebook groups lately, or, you know, Twitter groups, etc. And the amount of money that some electricians charge for reselling or reissuing certificates, it's phenomenal. Some are, you know, up to £60 just to reissue a certificate. For what we actually sell CertOn for the amount of documents you can add to CertOn, we're trying to create this as a safety product that's also going to create stop the reissuing of certificates. There's no need to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Boyd, I want to thank you for coming on today. It's been really good to have you on.
Lovely. And just so you know, there's a little sort of gift for your SGTV. We're going to give you a 40% discount voucher code. So if you go on the website and you want to buy the product, just tap in SGTV 40, and up until I think it's February, so it's about 3 or 4 months worth now. You can get 40% off of the whole product range. So yeah.
Brilliant, that's great. Hope everyone out there has enjoyed watching this today and found it useful. If you have, then please make sure you like, subscribe and hit the notification button below. Share it amongst your friends and your colleagues, and we want to see you again next time. So thank you.